All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the 7th tasting of Beauj Box 2025. We're tasting this guy. 2021 Famille Dutraive, Deduits, Fleurie is what we're tasting today. I know that sounds really French. A lot of very French sounding words in there. Super excited. This is actually one of my favorite bottles in the entire Beauj Box 2025. It's one of my favorite producers in all of Beaujolais. It's also one of my favorite, if not the favorite, crew of all of Beaujolais. So all of those things coming into one bottle. I'm very excited. So we got Dutraive, we got Fleurie. Yeah, this one is fucking banging. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Yeah, I almost lost my mind when I first tasted this because it's just, I don't know, it took me right back to over 10 years ago when I first tasted Cru Beaujolais, this kind of style of Cru Beaujolais. And that got me started on my Cru Beaujolais journey. Yeah, this is legit. This one is serious and delicious. Just hedonistically, just pleasing to the body and delicious. So pretty excited. Anyways, let's start with a map as we always do. You'll have access to this on a Google Drive, so go ahead and check that out. That'll get sent out on the email as well. In case you don't have it, you should have it by now. I mean, we're on the 7th. We've passed the halfway point, so now we're in the second half of Beauj Box 2025. I know you all are very sad, but this is what happens. It's the cycle. This is how it goes. All right, so we're in France. We're in Beaujolais. You all know where Beaujolais is by this point, southern tip of Burgundy, and we are in Fleurie, which is, if you look at the Beaujolais crew map, you will see that now we're moving down after tasting Moulin Avant last week. We're in Fleurie. So Moulin Avant was King of Beaujolais, right? Or their nickname, King of Beaujolais. Well, if Moulin Avant is King of Beaujolais, Fleurie is the Queen of Beaujolais. Again, hate to put gender normative on these things, but we do. But a lot of kind of what we as a society associate with the femininity, at least to me, it also reflects true on the style of the wine. What I mean by that is that it's just really pretty. Like if Moulin Avant, it was that like dark black fruit, right? Tannin, burly, powerful, right? Fleurie, on the other hand, is this kind of like ethereal, elegant, perfumed. It's just really pretty. Seems just a lot more lighter on his feet and just graceful than Moulin Avant. Not saying that Moulin Avant can't be beautiful. Beauty is defined by different things, and both are beautiful. It's just in their own way, but it's just a very different expression of the grape Gamay. So it is definitely, like I mentioned, it's my favorite, one of my favorites, if not the favorite. Actually, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. It is my favorite crew of them all. I really, really love Fleurie for all those reasons. It's still ageable, but all that really ethereal, beautiful, kind of pretty, elegant side of it is what I really love about this crew. So what makes Fleurie interesting or different? So if you look at the soil map, so you have the entire Beaujolais soil map. At this point, that region, as we get into Fleurie, this is where you see, pretty much majority of the landscape is covered with granite, pink granite. That kind of pinkish, salmonish color that you see on that map is all over there. And then if you look at the Fleurie soil map, which would be included in there, as you can see, it is just all over the place, right? We're talking about basically granite, pink granite, when we're talking about Fleurie, which is exactly what defines Beaujolais, Cru Beaujolais, the northern half of Beaujolais. But here in Fleurie, exactly, it's just everywhere. So 90% of soil here is pink granite, like I mentioned. So you're going to see a lot of granitic influence here, especially when it's made in a full carbonic style, which is what we have here this week. you get that really poppy, bright red fruit that's going to come out. So now that you've gone through this exercise a few times with me, now you know that the gamay grown on granite, put through carbonic, especially full carbonic, you're going to expect a lot of poppy red fruit. And when we get to tasting it, you will know that that's exactly what we have here today. Depending on the elevation of the vineyard here, the soil type does change a little bit. Higher up you go, you get a bit more like a sandy soil, and that's where you get much of that kind of floral, elegant, that perfumed Fleurie, that pretty feminine Fleurie that I was talking about. As you go lower in elevation, there's a more clay and more intensity. So clay has more water in it, right? Water retention. So that helps with ripening the fruit and then bringing just more structure element to the vines or to the wine. So lower you go where there's more clay rather than a sand. It's all granite, but it's about the granule size, right? Like so once you get to the clay, you get a lot more structure, muscular, broader, more canic kind of expression of gamay. So even within Fleurie, you kind of get different styles and expressions here. So it's not all made the same, but in general, Fleurie, when you're talking about as a whole crew, as a whole, it just is one of those really pretty elegant, ethereal. Ethereal is a word that comes to me a lot of times. Those of you who are big fans of like a Piedmont, Barolo, Barbaresco, the Nebbiolo-based red wines from Northwest Italy, we use the word ethereal quite a bit to describe that style of wine. And to me, Fleurie has that similar vibe that really just kind of like, it just sings up here. It's like, oh, like the really high treble notes, which is beautiful. Yeah, so it all depends on where the vineyard is. If you remember, was it last year? Was it 2 years ago? We feature the Roylette, Claudel Roylette. It was the yellow label with a horse on the front. It's also the vineyard that I visited, like when I went there, 6 years ago or something. Anyways, if you remember, that wine was so burly. I mean, right? It was muscular, tannic. It ages forever. Again, that's also Fleurie. So it is possible to get a complete different expression of gamay, but in general, when you're talking about Fleurie, we're talking about that pretty red fruit driven kind of a style of gamay. Let's see. Who makes this wine? You were gonna have access to these pictures. I'll put that up on Google Drive as well. But his name, it's Famille Dutraive is what it says on the label. But the guy who really runs it, the head of the whole thing, the patriarch, is Jean-Louis Dutraive. And for those of you who are Beaujolais nerds like me, the name probably rings a bell. Not only rings a bell, it probably makes you fanboy a little bit if you're anyone like me. Jean-Louis Dutraive is one of my favorite producers of all time from Beaujolais. I just love his wines. It's easily considered one of the best, quote-unquote, best winemakers in Beaujolais, particularly when it comes to Fleurie. The man has really kind of made his mark and brand in Fleurie. I've never met him personally, but apparently he's also like a legendary partier, and I've gotten this account from multiple different people who visited him and met him. Apparently he just shows up with he always has like a saucisson in his pocket and just shows up with a bottle of wine and a stick of saucisson, and then to at any time of the day, and just drinks and eats and parties. So if you guys are ever thinking about going out visiting Fleurie, I would say Jean-Louis Dutraive is probably a fun person to go visit. He's a 5th generation vigneron, who focuses on organic farming, minimum intervention, winemaking techniques, all the tenets of basically natural wine, all the things we talked about with Gang of Four, all the things that really put, Beaujolais being the birthplace of a modern natural winemaking. He prescribes to all of that. His dad, named Jean Dutraive, not Jean-Louis, but Jean Dutraive, purchased their family estate, Domaine de la Grande Cour, in 1969 in Fleurie, and then Jean-Louis joined his father in 1977, took over the domain in 1989. So he's been the head of their family estate since 1989. So he's a veteran. He's been making wine for a long time, and his skills, his kind of know-how, his understanding of the land, and then vintages and climate changes, and all of that really shows through his wine. His wines are just solid and beautiful every year in and year out. There's not a single vintage where I feel like he just hasn't done a good job, where his wines are not good. So what's the difference between Domaine de la Grande Cour, which is his family estate, and that's where this wine is made? However, this is sorry, dog is barking. This is under the label Famille Dutraive. So Famille Dutraive is a négociant project, meaning, so Domaine de la Grande Cour is their family estate bottling. So they grow all their vines, they own all the land, they have a full control from farming all the way to making the wine. So that's what happens at Domaine de la Cour. And then that's a different label. This is basically like a second label essentially. So this is all made with the purchase fruit. He does, however, only work with other farmers that farm organically and or biodynamically. Whether they're certified or not, he doesn't give a shit about that. Jean-Louis Dutraive himself, he's certified organic now, but he also farms biodynamically, but he doesn't care to certify himself Demeter certified or biodynamically certified, but he does believe in all of that. This is basically a purchase fruit, made from purchase fruit. A lot of that really happened because he had a disastrous harvest in 2016 and 2017. They had a really bad hailstorm. Hail is always a threat in this part of the world, in this part of France. This actually extends all the way up to Burgundy as well. Hail, particularly in springtime, is really, really a dangerous, real threat to all the vineyards. He lost almost 90% of his harvest in 2016 and 2017. And being a small family kind of a winery, he was trying to figure out, we got to figure out a way to hedge the risk, because his livelihood depends on this thing. As a sought after, well-known winemaker as he is, at the end of the day, he's still a small producer from a small place in Beaujolais. And he also has 3 children that really want to get involved with the family business, but as the harvest went away, he didn't have enough work for his children as well. So it's like, what do I need to do to be able to provide for my children and get this family business keep going? So he created the second label under the label Famille Dutraive by purchasing grapes and then making more wine. But it wasn't just to obviously hedge the risk and for livelihood and revenue generation, but also again to get those 3 children to involve in the family business. So that's Justin, Ophélie, and Lucas Dutraive. I don't know if Lucas, there's a picture, by the way, that I have put up in Google Drive of the kids working. I don't know if Lucas makes his own wine, but I know for a fact that Justin and Ophélie also has their own wine line as well. That is very small. It's hard to find, but it is out there. So if you ever come across it, go check it out. Honestly, it's not super different stylistically, super different from Jean-Louis Dutraive's. It's just like a Jean-Louis Dutraive light, because they haven't made wines as long as their father has. So let's see what else I want to tell you. But it's all organic farming on the or biodynamic farming on the farming side, and then the winemaking, it's the same, all the tenets of same thing that he believes at his family estate, Domaine de la Grande Cour, which is all using carbonic maceration, so a whole bunch carbonic maceration, and then just with a minimal intervention with a touch of sulfur at the end, not during élevage, which is during what that means. It's a fancy French word for aging. No sulfur during élevage or during fermentation, only at bottling. Oftentimes, if you do go to France and try to look for Jean-Louis Dutraive, you will find non-sulfur added bottles as well. But for the ones that come to the US, you usually see some level of sulfur that's done at bottling. His estate wines, the Domaine de la Grande Cour, is highly sought after and highly allocated. So if you ever get a chance, if you're ever out there I don't know, in a restaurant or a bottle shop, and you come across his wine, I definitely recommend that you pick one up and try it. Especially if you like tonight's wine. It's amazing. It's I mean, like I said, it's what got me into Cru Beaujolais. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that really rocked, blew my socks off, so to speak. So check it out. All right, so what is this wine? Oh yeah, there's some other pictures that I'm putting up there. So there's a picture of Fleurie, just so you get a sense of what it looks like, and then Jean-Louis Dutraive's actual cellar, as well as the concrete tanks that this wine is fermented and aged in, is in there as well. So this is 100% organic / biodynamic. Again, not certified biodynamic, certified organic. 50-year-old Gamay from a single Ludi of Les Deduits. Try to say that 10 times fast. Single Ludi of Les Deduits. Last year's Fleurie was also actually from Les Deduits. It was Bertrand, not Jan Bertrand, which is what we had this year. Another probably cousin of them. But yeah, I just realized that actually. All grown on granite, as I mentioned. 90% of Fleurie is granite. Full carbonic maceration here, in concrete vats. The pictures you can see, and then finish in the actual maceration after the berries pop from the intracellular enzymatic fermentation of carbonic maceration. Then all indigenous yeast. There's no lab-grown yeast. I mean, it's all the things. Spontaneous fermentation. It's all the things that we talk about in natural wine. It's aged for a further 7 months in concrete. No sulfur is used during fermentation or aging or élevage. And then it's bottled unfiltered, unfined, with less than 10 milligrams per liter of sulfites, SO2, added at bottling. That's nothing. I had a chance, I mean, I don't even know how long ago this was. This was a while back. But I had a chance at one of the wineries to taste the wines that had sulfites added at different dosage at bottling, and one was at like 5. We did it in increments of 5, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And honestly, between 5 and 10, I couldn't really even tell all that much of a difference, but it was really at 15 that I started to see a little bit of difference. By the time you get to 20, 25, you definitely see some difference there. Things just feel much more stable, but also very less alive, if that makes sense. Yeah, so 10 milligram really, I mean, it's a minuscule amount of SO2. And like I said, if you go to France, you may be able to find Jean-Louis Dutraive's bottling with no sulfites on it. So seek that out. So yeah, that's what we have. Fleurie, granite grown Gamay, full carbonic. So just by hearing that, now that you've been in Beauj box for 7 weeks, right? If you got that information, let's say in restaurants, or like, someone's talking to you and you're trying to pick out a bottle of Beaujolais from the list, they say, oh, this is from grown on granite, this is from Fleurie or whatever cru, grown on granite, and it's got full carbonic on it. And immediately you probably start thinking, okay, this is going to be really poppy, really bright, red fruit driven. Whether you want that or not, that's up to you, but at least you'll be able to start understanding that, right? So at least start to expect that from the bottle. But if you get something really dark and brooding and tannic and different things, then you got to start asking some questions. I'm like, why? This shouldn't taste like this. But yeah, here we are. So let's taste it. Let's pull up the sheet. All right. God damn it. I love this wine so much. All right, appearance. This wine is clear. Yeah. Not a whole lot of color, right? I'm going to call this actually pale. Maybe somewhere between pale and medium, but definitely not, I wouldn't call this a full medium yet. Definitely one of the lighter colored wines that we've had, right, in this box. It's because carbonic, full carbonic, right? The whole point of full carbonic is to extract less phenolics, polyphenolics. And then phenolic compounds are like things like tannin, things like anthocyanin, which is what's responsible for these ruby colors in red wines and is found in the skins. So by putting it on carbonic, you're extracting less and less of the phenolics. It's all about really pure fruit. So it makes sense why we wouldn't see as much color on a full carbonic wine, because it's, the anthocyanin hasn't been extracted all that much. Obviously, you can tell this wine is not filtered or fine. It's, I don't go as far as calling it hazy or cloudy, but you can tell that it's like, it's not filtered. All right, nose. This one is clean. This one is sound. I do get a little bit of like an elevated VA here. Not a lot, but just enough. There's definitely some VA. And then when I first opened this bottle, I'm not getting any of it now, but when I first opened this bottle, there's a bit of a reduction on this wine. So I got a little bit of that kind of like a matchstick kind of thing going on. Farty little hard-boiled egg thing, just a touch of it, but it blew off really fast. So if you're just opening this, I do think this wine is going to open up quite a bit. It's going to benefit from some air oxygen exposure. So maybe decant it. I do hesitate a little bit just because there's a low sulfur level. By decanting it fully and leaving it in a decanter, that it may shorten the drinking window. Maybe just double decant it real quick, decant it in the bottle, into a decanter, and then put it back in the bottle. But I do think the little bit of air is good for this one. Let's see, intensity. Wow. All right, so I'm like, I don't know if you guys can see my glass, but here we go. I'm like smelling it here. That's way off the glass. What is that, like 4 inches? Yeah, I'm like here. Wow, this wine is really, really expressive. I'm gonna call this a minimum, like that's pronounced. I'm gonna call this pronounced. Yeah, I don't know if it's I knew that this wine was going to be concentrated because Jean-Louis Dutraive, he's just a fucking master. He's a guru. His wines are always so expressive and aromatic, but I did not expect it to be this aromatic. Like, yeah, I'm going to call this pronounced. Pronounced, intense aromas of, what do we got? Let's see. Just first of all, just beautiful. This wine just smells so fucking good, right? Like I don't know about you guys, but the smell of this wine just like haunts me. It's just so beautiful and pretty. Just really pretty, bright, ethereal. Like this is Fleurie. Like to me, this smells like Fleurie. This is exactly what you expect from Fleurie. First, you get this like really ethereal. Again, I keep using the word. You're gonna hear me use that adjective again and again, because that's, to me, is what describes this wine the best. But really beautiful, pretty, ethereal, like rose petals. There's definitely some floral, pretty flowers going on here. Ton of fresh, ton of ripe red berries. Name all the red berries. Red currant, cranberry, strawberry, but also fresh and high tone. It's all that full carbonic coming in here, right? I get like a little bit of red vine. I get a little bit of cherry cola. I get like a little bit of starburst here too. But like I get like equal amounts of fresh fruit as well as far as all that like candied fruit. Just ton of it. It's like exploding out of the glass. Just bursting out of the glass with the fruit. Nature of fruit is perfectly ripe. There's nothing unripe about this. Really fresh and high tone, like I mentioned. And this just goes to show the 2021, if you remember, we've been doing this for 5 years, right? This is our 5th Beauj box. So we've been able to taste Beaujolais through the vintages. And if you remember, 2021 as a whole in general was a very, very lean vintage. It was really cold. They got a hailstorm, like I mentioned, in spring. So a lot of fruit as a whole, 2021 Beaujolais was just kind of lean, really high in acid, lacking in fruit, sometimes even vegetal and green. That was very common. The fact that his fruit character here is this ripe and it is this expressive is a testament to Jean-Louis Dutraive's skills. Just goes to show that good winemakers can still make good wines even in tough vintages. So yeah, this is I did not expect this is one of the things that really got me. I'm like, is this 2021 really? Like, because I expect it to be much leaner, but yeah, it's just really really expressive, and the fruit is really beautifully ripe and fresh. It's not just all fruit. I do get a little bit of like a savory thing here too, like maybe like a Earl Grey tea leaves or something like that. Maybe like a black tea, a little bit like floral, not even floral, but like aromatic black tea, like Earl Grey. Maybe just touch of like even like musty, like an animal musty kind of a thing. There's something savory here, but all in a good way. Like I don't mean that in a distracting way. Like it's just giving like a layer of complexity and like that like savory balance to all that like fresh and poppy red fruit, and also just on the nose. I know I used this term before, but this wine is crunchy as fuck. Like it's crunch AF. Like it's when you talk about crunchy wine, like this is what I'm talking about. Also, ton of minerality here. I get some whetstone, some crushed rock. Like, there's definitely like a rock vibe here for sure. I don't get much in secondary or tertiary here. To me, this is still very much in the primary, very fresh, very youthful, and all of that. All right, let's get to palate. All right, I'm not spitting this wine out today. It's so good. I mean, first of all, can we just agree how good this fucking wine is? I'm sorry, if you don't like this wine, I don't know, you and I can't be friends. It's that good. Yeah, love this wine so much. It's dry. This wine is bone dry. There's not a ton of fruit, right? But like, there's no sugar on this whatsoever. Where are we? Acidity. All right, the acid character pops. I think I would call this like somewhere between medium plus. I don't want to go. I'm not quite certain to go medium plus. I'd probably call this medium on an exam. But acid, the profile of acid really pops, and I think it's that little bit of that touch of VA that I mentioned earlier, which is volatile acidity. It can come off as like a little bit of like a balsamic vinegar. In this case, I don't know if you guys have ever had like a pomegranate, like a vinegar, like a syrupy pomegranate like vinegar thing that a lot of Arab countries use, or Arab cuisines use. That is what it reminds me of. Like, I guess some of that like pomegranate syrup / vinegar thing popping up here, which is beautiful. I really like that. So yeah, for acid, I'm gonna call this medium, but somewhere between medium and medium plus. I think it's closer to medium than medium plus. So I'm gonna call this medium. Tannin, some tannin, but not over the top. Somewhere between like medium minus and medium. I'll probably call this medium. Yeah, yeah, somewhere around there. It's definitely not high. I wouldn't go anywhere past medium. Lower end of medium, higher end of medium minus is basically where we're at. Probably call this medium though on an exam. Alcohol. So this is just so delicious. I can just drink this all night. I can probably drink this whole bottle just like very easily, which is dangerous. But alcohol, I don't know, 12.5. 13.5. I don't know if I really believe that. But I mean, it's reasonable, especially in 2021 when it was a lean vintage. This does not drink like 13.5 to me. But yeah, I mean, alcohol seems very much in balance. This does not seem out of balance in any way. But to me, this is, I mean, either way, this is 12 and I call it 12.5. Label says 13.5. I'll call it, this is right in the medium, right? Either way. Body. Not a whole lot of body. It's pretty light. I'm gonna call this medium minus body. No mousse, obviously. Flavor intensity, I mean, we call this medium minus body, right? Even the flavors, everything is just really light on its feet, right? Like I almost feel like everything is just kind of like, there's no like base notes here. Like there's nothing dark and brooding here. Everything is just like really like bouncing off my palate, my tongue. But don't confuse that for intensity. Like to me, the flavor of all the fruits, all those high tone fresh fruits, all of that we mentioned earlier, it is loud. I'm gonna call this medium plus, bordering on pronounced also in terms of flavor intensity as well. All right, so what do I get? I'm confirming everything that I got on the nose, right? Like, yeah, that kind of like red flower, rose petals, really pretty floral kind of a note. Red, poppy, bright fruit. I mean, name it all. Currant, right? Raspberry, strawberry, red cherry, high tone fruit, red vines, starburst strawberries. Not even strawberries, like starburst red color. Right? Cherry cola, I guess some of that. Maybe some of the savory thing that I'm mentioning that I said Earl Grey tea earlier is kind of like that. You know how cola has a little bit of like a herbal essence to it. I'm getting some of that here as well. But again, what I'm getting more on the palate than I did on the nose, particularly, or I'm sensing it now, is that pomegranate. That kind of lifted, just kind of touch elevated VA with a pomegranate vinegar syrup kind of a combination thing that's happening here. It's beautiful. It's lovely. Touch of that tea leaf savory, maybe it's cola, herbs, sarsaparilla kind of a thing, or tea leaves that's still there, and then minerality. I mean, I get a ton of minerality here. It may be a little bit hard to find just because all the fruit is just so abundant and intense, but I definitely like in the background of all of that. This is all built on that kind of the acid and the mineral backbone. I get that ton of like the almost like a kind of like a flinty, smoky rock does. Touch of that, but there's definitely minerality running through here. And you know, to me, that's part of why I love this style of Fleurie, which is that like you get these like really beautiful ethereal fruit, but it's not just like a, you know, adult cranberry juice, right? It's just there's more to it. There's this acid backbone. There's this minerality that comes through. Some of the savory thing that I was talking about, like all these layers of complexity that run into it. It's nuanced, right? It's not just punching in the face. It's light. It's dancey. It's dancing on your tongue. Yet there's all these little nuances that run through, and each sip, like you go back, you keep going back to it because it's just delicious. It goes on easy, but if you really pay attention to it, there's like all these little nuances that you discover with each sip each time, and that's part of what I love about this wine. Let's see. It's crunchy shit. I just poured a new little bit. There's a little bit of the dissolved CO2. I mean, that's like, I'm not calling it enough to be like effervescent, but there's like a little bit of prickly of the CO2 that's left here, which adds to that crunchy factor, the crunch factor of this wine. This wine is crunchy AF. I love it. It's refreshing, vibrant acid, really bright poppy fruit, touch of the dissolved CO2. I mean, all of it. It's great. Length. The concentration of the thing is amazing. Interesting. I think the length is the only one that makes me kind of wishing for more. I would definitely call this, it's still got a decent length. I would still call this definitely medium. I was just expecting a little bit longer length. I'm kind of hoping, I was hoping that this would, you know, squarely go into medium plus territory, given how concentrated it was and all the nuanced little things that I was telling you about. But yeah, the length is not super long. I'm gonna call this medium. Let me try this one more time. Yeah, I'm gonna call this medium. All right, conclusion. Let's put it all together. I think this wine is super well balanced, first and foremost. There's nothing here that sticks out. all this acid. Acid is, actual acid that's in there. The titratable acid that's in the wine is, we call it medium, right? Bordering on medium plus, but medium. But there's all this VA and then other pomegranate, pomegranate vinegar, and all those things that are popping up here. That's also really lifting up the fruit profile, that bright fruit profile of this wine. So, but it's not interfering with anything else. So I think it's very, very well balanced. Concentration, we call it pronounced on the nose, almost pronounced on the palate, right? Like medium plus at the minimum. So yeah, I'm gonna call that pronounced. Somewhere between medium plus and pronounced for concentration. By the way, which is all in line with Jean-Louis Dutraive's wine. His wines are always so concentrated. It's always so pretty, ethereal, nuanced, complex. It's this all checks out. This is on brand for what you would expect from Jean-Louis Dutraive. And also another thing that I love about his wines, before I get into all the quality goals here, is that there's this sense of purity about this wine. I don't know if you guys are getting that, but like this wine just seems so very pure about the actual fruit. There's nothing that is, I don't know, there's no makeup on this wine. There's nothing that is trying to hide. It's like showing itself exactly what it is, getting to the very core essence of what this wine is supposed to be, which is that full carbonic gamay grown granite, which is like beautiful poppy red fruit that's concentrated, nuanced, and yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. So sorry, I'm gonna stop gushing over how much I love this wine, but I love this wine. All right, so super well balanced, medium plus a pronounced concentration. Complexity, we called out some stuff, right? We called out rose petals, fresh as well as high tone, red fruit, pomegranate vinegar, minerality, some tea leaves, but nothing on secondary, tertiary, all still in the fresh primary. So I'm gonna call that medium as well. And then the length we call it medium. So when you kind of take an average, all of that is, balanced, pronounced, really, really high concentration, intensity, but medium complexity and medium length. So I'm gonna call that about, like, I don't, on average, I think it comes out to about medium plus. So I'm gonna call this very good. Potential for aging. I think this one is drinking beautifully right now. Honestly, I'm about to go out to dinner after this recording, so I'm not going to finish this bottle. But if I wasn't, I would definitely drink this in one sitting right now. Like it is calling my name. Like my body is like craving more, another sip every time I'm done taking another sip. Like this is that delicious to me. Yeah, so it's drinking very well right now. I think this would do beautifully. But if you want to age, given that decent acid and tannin backbone, right? We call it both medium, almost pronounced or pronounced concentration, medium plus on the palate, pronounced on the nose, right? That much concentration of fruit. And knowing how well Jean-Louis Dutraive's wines age in general, just having worked with it for so long, I would say this can easily go 5 to 8 is what I would say. Some of that really fresh poppy fruit, there's a ton of it, right? That pronounced concentration. They'll start turning into some tertiary, non-fruit things. Maybe fruit nature will change a little bit while still holding on to that fresh fruit. Which will add on to the complexity of this wine. And the complexity is one of the things that we call medium. So yeah, I would say easily 5 to 8 years, but I don't think you would have any problem, or I wouldn't. It may be very difficult to hold on to it for 5 to 8 years because it is just so goddamn delicious right now. So that's my final call. If you disagree with it, you have a different opinion, you know where to find me. Let me know. I'm actually really curious what you guys think about this wine. If you guys find this as delicious as I do. This is a style of Beaujolais, Cru Beaujolais, that I personally love. It's not everybody's tea. Not everybody loves full carbonic. Not everybody loves this kind of bright poppy stuff. They want more darker, perhaps like a Burgundian approach, a little more maceration. of more little more extraction. But to me, this style of wine, I mean, this kind of style of wine you find everywhere in the world. Like Rhone, a lot of new young natural winemakers are doing a lot of carbonic. We're experimenting with a lot of carbonic in Rhone. Obviously, there's a lot happening in Loire as well with the carbonic, happening in California, Oregon. I mean, it's happening all over the world. But this is where it originated, and no one, to me, no one has quite done it quite like Beaujolais. But even within Beaujolais, like Jean-Louis Dutraive, when it comes down to full carbonic, Fleurie, which is a really ethereal kind, right? A lot of these Gang of Four that we mentioned are from Morgon, which are much deeper fruit profile, a lot more base notes. But to do it with something that is this ethereal and just kind of singing on the high notes, it's just beautiful. And this is kind of style of wine that I really, really love. Again, it's not necessarily that that's better or worse, it's just what I prefer. So if you like this wine, I'd love to hear what about it that you, whether you like it first of all, and if you do, then what about it really speaks to you. And also, if you don't like this wine, if you don't like this style, then I would love to hear why. So let me know. Hit me back. You know, all that Beauj box email chain is supposed to be interactive, so you guys should post up there. Let us know what your opinion is. Let's wrap this up with the final favorite game. How much do you think this wine is on a retail shelf? How much would you be happy paying for this on a retail shelf? If you wanna play the game, press pause and then come back to it. But you know, we're talking about Jean-Louis Dutraive. Yes, it's not his estate label; it's his négoce label, but nonetheless, his name is on there, Dutraive, right? World renowned, world sought after. I mean, his estate wines are allocated. Like that's how highly sought after he is. But this is his second label. But it is a single vineyard from Fleurie. So yeah, how much do you think this would be, or how much would you be happy paying for it? Press pause if you want to play that game, and answer is $46. Yes, not cheap, particularly for Cru Beaujolais, but Jean-Louis Dutraive's wines is never cheap. It's just, you know, he's gone. I don't blame him. You know, he's gotten very, very popular. I mean, he's a killer. I mean, he's an unbelievable winemaker. But the fact that it's never cheap. His wine's just never cheap. But the fact that his wines are now approaching $50 a bottle on a retail shelf is wild to me. Again, goes to show the inflation is happening everywhere. But 46 is one of the, if not the most, but one of the most expensive bottles that we have in this year's box. The name value, the name Dutraive goes far, but this wine is fucking good though. It's very, very good. So you decide whether 46 is worth it or not. I would love to hear that as well. Whether you think 46 is reasonable for this wine. Let us know. Otherwise, hope you guys all enjoy your Friday, and I will talk to you all later. Toodles.